Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another evening of Good Natured. I actually had to go get a jacket because it's a little chilly out, which is, I think, a pleasant change from the humidity that we've had these last few days. Hopefully everybody made it through the storms okay. I was just looking, I thought we got a fair amount of rain, but I've got, you can see here, there's my lamp. My poor little zinnias are looking thirsty. So either it came down so hard it didn't soak in, or it just evaporated that much today. But anyway, we've got all kinds of things to share tonight, folks. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with screen share. I've also got some videos that we will share a little bit later on. Let's see if I can get these pulled up here. We're gonna optimize and we are gonna go over to, all right. I think I did that right. Is everybody looking at a caterpillar?
Yeah.
All right. So I have to say, this is a caterpillar that I don't see them as often as I did when I was a kid, which doesn't mean that they're in any kind of conservation trouble or anything. They're actually in some areas, they can grow, their numbers can grow to being somewhat of a pesty size population. But I remember as a kid sitting on the front step of my parents' house and seeing these caterpillars. And last week, I was sitting on the front step of my parents' house 50 some odd years later, and what do I see crawling right where I remembered seeing them? But this, which I think is a really, really stunning caterpillar. It's called the white tufted or white marked tussock moth caterpillar. It is one of the ones that you have to be a little careful of. Sometimes those hairs can have an irritating effect. I've never felt that. I know I petted them as a kid, but it could be that people have varying sensitivities to those caterpillars. Well, finding this, it took me down memory lane, but it also got me curious. In all these years, I know I've seen this caterpillar in a lot of places. I don't know if I've ever seen the adult. So here you go. This is what they turn into. This is the white marked tussock moth. I love these front legs. Aren't they crazy? They are considered, they're nighttime flyers, so they're food for creatures like bats. And I believe they are also considered to be nighttime pollinators as well. But it's that caterpillar stage that people get leery of. I don't know, I didn't call specific attention to, but they have a huge number of plants, both woody and herbaceous types of plants that they feed on. Apple, basswood, elm, maple, oak, pear, plum, poplars, redwood, etc. So lots and lots of food plants for these little guys. They're appearing now. See if you can find any in your neighborhood or on the front step of your parents' home, or wherever it is that you happen to hang out when you're enjoying a summer night. Now, this was a text. When you hear your phone go off and it's an odd hour, you always, there's a concern that maybe something not so great has happened. And in this case, this was a rather urgent text from my friend Melinda, who said, please tell me this is not a roach. And so I did. I told her, this is not a roach. Let's look at why it's not a roach. This is actually, I don't know the species. It is a type of ground beetle. And ground beetles are predators. They're part of the things that you can welcome into your living spaces. Although I told her to put it back outside. Our living spaces don't have the proper humidity for bugs to survive long term, especially a bug like this that does most of its hunting outside. But if we zoom in here, and you look really close, so we've got our, our 6 legs. We've got these striations down on the wing covers here. So that's one clue that it's not a roach. 2, we've got these antennae up here that have a lot of like almost like little beads stacked one on top of another. That's another beetle trait. And then 3, it's a little hard to see here, but there's some good sized mandibles, or there's some mouth parts which are used for catching and feeding on other insects. So last thing before I went to bed the other night, I put Melinda and her family at ease. They could know that they weren't sharing their spaces with the dreaded cockroaches. Now, with that said, we do have native wood roaches in our area that if you happen to live in woods or near woods, if your home is heavily shaded, if you bring in firewood, sometimes you'll transport wood roaches into your home. They are, they're part of our decomposing team. They shred leaves and other decaying plant matter, and they're actually a pretty important part of the decomposer community in our local woodland ecosystem. But then we've got the roaches that give roaches a bad name. The 3 we tend to see around here, the Oriental, the American, and the German cockroach. They don't have large or visible mouth parts. They don't have beaded antennae. Their wings do not have those striations or grooves on them. So look for those things. You'll also, if you see one, chances are you're going to see a lot of roaches. These guys, I remember junior year of college, moving into an apartment at University of Illinois, and those Illini in the group tonight, you might remember the boneyard. That's the creek / drainage that runs through quite a bit actually of the downtown campus area. Well, as worldly and wise juniors in college, my roommates and I thought we were being pretty slick getting an apartment right on Green Street that backed up to the boneyard. So we actually had waterfront property, except it was also, the building wasn't particularly new, and it was well populated with cockroaches. We sort of worked out a truce. The building, I know, was treated pretty often. We'd see the exterminators truck outside. Where they took refuge in our apartment was in the dishwasher. It was dark in there. It was somewhat damp. It was the perfect environment. And they, every once in a while, they'd, travel out from there. But for the most part, they stayed in there and left us to have the rest of the apartment to ourselves. But yeah, you rarely will have one cockroach. Our predatory ground beetles, one is probably all you'll ever see. Should you be lucky enough to even have one come into your house. As I went through the week, I found that I had to do some shopping for, we had our annual Monarchs and Margaritas riverboat cruise last Saturday night. So I had to go. It was one of my least favorite parts of my job, is having to shop for programs like this. And I also found myself, I'd been doing programs earlier in the day, and just like, you don't leave your car, you don't leave your pets in your hot car while you're in a grocery store. You also don't leave your pet praying mantis. So I found it kind of funny, actually. I made 2 stops that day. One was at Costco, and this was the dreaded Walmart trip. But in both places, you put a a critter carrier in the child seat of your cart, nobody asks any questions. And this was one of those really hot and humid days. I don't know, even though insects generally do well in hot, humid weather, they don't do so well in hot cars. So yeah, it was kind of fun shopping with the mantis. The next morning, so I do spend a lot of time in the yard these days looking for food for little Manny. And I've refined my standards a little bit. I was catching only caddisflies, but as Manny, the praying mantis, has grown, I found his appetite is bigger, and he needs bigger bugs. So I've expanded the menu to include different types of flies, but not the predatory flies. We've got some long-legged flies hanging out by the compost bin. Those are those iridescent flies. They've got kind of a greenish iridescent body and iridescent wings, and then noticeably long legs. I'm going more for the flies that are here because I have 3 dogs that leave deposits here and there in the yard. So, but I also check the goldenrod because occasionally flies, the bottle flies, oftentimes will stop there, maybe get a little sip of nectar. Well, this particular morning, I looked at this goldenrod and I saw down here, if we zoom in a little bit, there's a dark spot. And at first I thought, oh boy, it's a fly. And then I looked a little closer and I thought, oh, that's not a fly. It's not going to be food for the mantis, but it's definitely something I'm going to have to spend some more time on. So zoomed in some more. Here's a different angle. And that red spot there, that's the eyes. That's the eyes of this creature. I pulled it. It was really hard. It was not wanting to be found. This particular insect is a predator, and it's hanging out. Probably this bug and I had the exact same objective that particular morning. We were looking for bugs that could be used as food. This is an ambush bug. There's a group, there's various types of ambush bugs. This one is called the jagged ambush bug. I've also heard this one called the American ambush bug, but there's different subspecies of this one. I believe the one that's in this area is Americana. But I tried as best I could, and I pretty much failed. I wanted you to be able to see the forearms, the forelimbs, the front legs of this bug. They're beefy. They're made for ambushing. So this is an insect that lies in wait. It doesn't chase after its prey. It lives up to its name and ambushes them. Overpowers, subdues them, and then uses those strong mandibles that it has to feast away. So these guys, and also our yellow or goldenrod crab spiders, are 2 very common predators that you can look for in hanging out amongst the flowers on the goldenrod that is so prevalent these days. Now, when I sent out the email a little bit ago, I promised you we'd be talking about bats, and here we go. So this was just Friday. Friday morning, I had planned to run a couple of errands with our supervisor. We were actually going up, a teacher up at Elgin High School was donating a really sweet 75-gallon aquarium setup that we're going to use for the confiscated bullfrog that we've been following the development of this spring and summer. So yeah, the little frog is going to really be able to grow to its full potential because it's got an enormous tank that we're in the process of setting up as a semi-aquatic habitat. But anyway, so I was heading out to Hickory Knolls when my cell phone rang, and it was our main office. It was the administrative assistant to our director. And she doesn't say hello. She says, Pam, where are you? And immediately I'm thinking, oh, crud, I blew a meeting with the big boss. How could I have done that? And my mind is, because I was picturing my calendar. I was pretty sure I didn't have anything else scheduled, but as it turns out, I didn't blow a big meeting. I just she said I was needed if I could get myself over to the Baker building, the sooner the better. And this is why. So local folks, you might be familiar with the Baker Community Center. It's an old building that was given to the residents of St. Charles by the Baker family back, gosh, over 100 years ago now. And it was maybe within the last 4 years or so, it was renovated and an elevator was added. Now, how this little bat made its way into the elevator, I don't know. When I got there, this is what I saw. And what we're looking at there is 3/4 of a bat. Its head is tucked underneath one of the side panels. And the brand new custodian, he had just started last week. He saw it and he kind of thought it was dead, but then it moved and they realized it wasn't dead. So the objective became, let's get the bat out of the elevator. So how do you do that? Well, I got a pair of gloves because you never want to touch an animal, especially a bat that could possibly be carrying the rabies virus. Now, I will say bats and rabies, it is a thing, but generally speaking, if we look at the bat population here in Illinois, the number of bats, the percentage of bats that carry the rabies virus is generally regarded to be 1% or less of the total number of bats. Now, the Illinois Department of Health does, they do have a map and they do publish because they keep careful track of the number of rabid bats that are found. And it usually makes the news too, the papers and the online news and sometimes even the TV news if there's more than one or if there's a few spotted in an area. But yeah, you don't want to make contact with bat saliva. It's just, that's not something you ever want to do. So anyway, I put some gloves on, and what we're looking at here are the bat's little feet. So this is when they're roosting during the day. This is what they hang by, these cute little toes here. Now this little guy, I think he'd probably been in there all night and he was probably just trying desperately to not be noticed because bats are predators, but they're also prey. But it was for the good of the bat, as well as everybody who works at Baker, that we get this creature out of the elevator. So I tugged gently on those little feet and got him out away from that panel. And then I put, this is one of those plastic critter keepers, put that over the top, and then it's actually the bottom of the critter keeper, and then I slid the blue top underneath, and the bat just sort of complacently climbed in, and we proceeded to carry him outside. This is the brand new landscaping at the Baker building. Now bats, let's go back for just a second. So these little feet they have are attached to little legs, and they're great for hanging, but they are not great for jumping and taking off. A bat that's on the ground like this is pretty helpless. They can't They can't just start flapping their wings and fly. They have to gain some sort of height so that they're able to then let go with those toes and then flap their wings and then start to fly. So taking him outside, the ultimate goal was to get him to climb up the brick wall. But I was thinking, with it having spent the night in the elevator, no doubt being very stressed, and then trying to hide like it did underneath that panel, we thought it might like to have a little drink of water. So that's why we cut down a styrofoam cup and gave the little bat. And by the way, this is a big brown bat. That's we know we have them living at the Baker Center up in the probably up in the attic and in the eaves outside of the building. This little guy just drank and drank and drank. He was really, really thirsty. I did happen to notice that it does look like it was a male. And that was interesting too, because I've always just assumed that the bats that are at Baker are, that it's a nursery colony and a maternity colony. And so it's females and their offspring. I did do a little bit of research about male bats, big brown bats specifically. And I came across a paper that talked about how male bats, which generally they either go and hang out singly, or they'll form what they call bachelor colonies. But there are instances as we get towards the end of summer where males will approach the maternity or the nursery colonies and try to shall we say go on a date with the females. Now, bats are mammals that mate. They reproduce. They have a means of reproduction that's called delayed implantation. So they want to mate when they're healthy and well fed and vigorous, which is now. They've been feeding on insects all summer, but they don't want to. The females do not want to be pregnant when they're hibernating. So basically, the sperm and the egg are kept apart, and then that delayed implantation, the egg eventually gets fertilized, but it's not until springtime when there's food to be had again, and the females will be able to feed and grow their fetus and then nurse their young. So anyway, I think this little guy, I don't know if he was I don't know if he was thinking he could take the elevator up to where all the ladies were. I don't know. Anyway, that's a very long way of saying we got him out, got him a drink of water, and then we took him over to the brick wall, where he then proceeded to walk his way up. Gave him a little bit of a boost. Now you can see, if we zoom in here, you can see the other cool thing about bat wings. So they have 4 long bones in their wings that are kind of like the 4 long fingers on our hands. And then up here, they have, these are kind of like little thumbs. And this is how bats are able to walk. Should they find themselves in a position of peril down on the ground, they try to get over to a vertical surface, and it might be a tree, it might be a wall like this, and then they just pull themselves up by their thumbs until they get up to a sufficient enough height where they can drop down and flap their wings and start to fly. Now, this bat, we never got to see that. He was, well, by this point, there was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 people gathered round, and he had a lousy night in the elevator. He just gotten himself a little bit hydrated. We got him up about as far as he was about even with my head height, so under 6 feet off the ground. And we realized, he's probably petrified. So at that point, the decision was made that we should all go back, go about our daily business. A couple people from Baker did go out a little bit later on, and the bat had walked, using his thumbs, had walked all the way up and was tucked up underneath one of the ledges of one of the windows higher up. So pretty sure the bat made it through okay. And it was just finally, after all these weeks, how many weeks have we talked about bats, and how many times have I had the bat detector out and nothing? And then all I should have known, all we had to do was go over to the Baker building and look in the elevator. So I mentioned monarchs and margaritas. That was the program we did Saturday evening. Well, I believe this is the 4th year. It's either the 3rd or 4th year that we've done the program. We've traditionally had a vase with a piece of milkweed and a monarch caterpillar. Sometimes we've had several monarch caterpillars for people to look at and marvel at. As we've done the program where we educate people about monarchs and their life cycle and their migration. Well, this year, I think there was about 4 of us that were looking all around Hickory Knolls, the natural area, and the demonstration garden out in front, and we just didn't have any luck. This was the day before the program, so this was Friday afternoon, and I set out one more time. Didn't find any monarchs that outing either, but I did find a lot of, again, goldenrod blooming, and then a lot of this tall plant right here, which you might, especially if you have an allergy to it, recognize as giant ragweed. I did have to pop a couple of Claritins myself this last week. I've had a ragweed allergy that's kind of come and gone over the years. This year doesn't seem to be particularly bad, but boy, there's a lot of it out there. This is the giant ragweed. Both it and the common ragweed have the same genus, which is Ambrosia. The species name for this is after the tri-lobe nature of the leaves on the plant. It's oftentimes people who don't hang out amongst the plants, when they start sneezing in August, they see these bright yellow blooms of the goldenrod, and they think, oh, that's my seasonal allergy is back. It's that darn goldenrod. It's not. The goldenrod pollen is very heavy. It's not windborne. It needs insects in order to move it around. But what we're looking at here at the top of these stalks, this is the flower of the ragweed. It's not showy. It doesn't attract pollinators. It is windborne pollen. And that's why it just bugs the heck out of your nasal passages and really stimulates, gets your immune system all worked up. This is the other form of ragweed that we have around here. This is the common ragweed. The cut leaves like this look, at a quick glance, they might look like Queen Anne's lace, but again, they've got these nondescript green flowers. Let's zoom in on these. Not seeking to attract any pollinators here. This is all, these little green flowers are producing tiny, but extremely irritating. If you've ever seen, oops, you've ever seen grains of ragweed pollen, it's no wonder they make your nose run and their eyes itch. They got all kinds of spiky features about them. Anyway, it is still ragweed season right now. The rain we got has cleared the air. Looks like we're in now for a long stretch of sunshine again. So there's probably going to be more ragweed pollen hitting the airwaves soon. So I don't know that we're necessarily done with the season yet, but boy, every place I look, I've been seeing ragweed. Now, that's the downside, if there's you're an allergy sufferer, it is, and I remember we talked about this last year too, it is a very rich, especially the giant ragweed, the seeds that are produced as a result of the flowers being pollinated. It's got a very high quality and high oil content to it. There's actually areas, state wildlife areas here in Illinois where they cultivate ragweed for the game birds to feed on the seeds later. And there's even evidence of some of our Native American tribes who cultivated this plant for those seeds and the oil content that they had. So not all bad, but yeah, if you're itchy and sneezy, you might feel otherwise. Definitely ragweed season out there. Now, kind of gave you a sneak preview of this. Susie, I know you were with me. This was one of the most perfectly planned and well-suited outings for nerds. 4 different museums were highlighted at the first ever Elgin museum crawl. Apparently this is something they're going to try on a semi-regular basis. It was called a crawl, and so going into it, I was sort of thinking that this would be something that you would walk to all 4, and I guess you could, but a couple of the museums, you would have had to crawl pretty fast. There was over a mile between them. And it would also be good to familiarize yourself with Aurora and the most efficient way to go between.
Elgin, not Aurora.
Did I say?
You said Aurora. Get your cities right.
my Fox Valley roots are showing. So, and Susie, as an Elgin native, thank you for calling me out on that. I got 40 lashes coming to me.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, I had the good fortune of going with Susie, who was born and raised in Elgin. And this theme, I actually learned a lot. We started at the Elgin Public Museum, which is over at Lord's Park. They've got some pretty cool artifacts there. This is one of the few passenger pigeon mounts that's in existence here in the Chicago area. One of the stops within the museum was, they called it, what do they call it? The murderer's birds?
Yes, murderous birds.
The mystery of the murderer's birds. So, remember the Leopold and Loeb case back in was it the 20s or the 30s? Those 2 guys that killed that little boy. Well, one of them, I had connections. He had relatives that lived in Elgin, and he also was into ornithology, and he had this big collection of taxidermy birds. And some of it was Loeb. It wasn't Leopold. It was Loeb's birds that, or was it Leopold?
It was Leopold.
Okay. You listened way better than I did.
No, I kept thinking to myself, I never knew Aldo Leopold did anything like this. So I just remember Leopold because I was equating to Aldo.
There we go. Well,
so, and it wasn't.
And it was, yeah, it was a murderous Leopold. Yes. But so the staff of the Elgin Public Museum is now looking through their collection. They do have a number taxidermy birds, and they're trying to figure out just how many of them belong to this guy. And he was sentenced to life in prison, but he was released for good behavior. And he did come to Elgin after he was out of prison. But it was, that sort of tone, the mystery of the murderer's bird. Every one of the stops on this museum crawl had, these shocking catastrophe oriented displays. At the Elgin History Museum, which is different from the public museum, and for some reason I didn't take any pictures there. They focused on tornadoes and floods that have occurred over time in Elgin. The public museum, they also have, they've got some displays that relate back to the Ice Age. This is a giant beaver skull. The giant beaver is front and center here, down in the lower left. That is in comparison to the beavers that we have today. I got a kick out of this as someone who used to have to manage a public building. I love their fix for their broken display. You can push this button if you like, but nothing will happen. With the observatory was another stop. And Susie, maybe you can explain if somehow the Elgin Watch Factory, which is one of the big things the city is known for, would set their watches based on astronomical time. Is that right?
Well, and I think there was, Deb said it, but I didn't listen. I mean, I don't remember it. There was some phrase like Elgin is precise star time or something like that.
Yeah,
And
it was,
so-
yeah, that was how they marketed the watches.
Yes,
They were-
yes. So that's why they decided to build this observatory and keep time by it, and I never knew that the Elgin Watch Company made this observatory. So I learned everything too on that.
Yeah, and they're open from time to time. The reason I included all this, folks, is because it is something, it's close by, it's really cool, and it's something that I don't think a lot of us even think to take advantage of. Just the amount of stabilizing that there's, what was it, like 20 feet of concrete underneath the
Yes.
ground?
Yes.
And then this telescope is set on more concrete inside the building. And just the engineering that went into creating this work. And then the scientists that worked there was actually living quarters for them there, and cool old, you can see the old porcelain sinks and everything are still there. It's a really neat stop. They were doing a bigger program, but this was, even though it was a Friday night, Susie and I both had commitments we had to be ready for on Saturday, so we didn't stay for the whole program, but watch for more museum crawls in the future. There was the last stop we made was at the fire barn, and there's some cool old fire engines there that you can climb up on and ding the bell. The thing I took away from there is that
I knew you were going to do this.
that's the main reason we stopped there. That's what I was. So this is the staircase that led up to the sleeping quarters for the firemen. And back when this fire barn was built, the fire trucks were actually wagons pulled by horses. Well, the horses, they're basically like big dogs, and they formed strong bonds with the firemen there. They had to put a curve in the staircase so the horses couldn't follow the firemen up to bed at night. I just thought that was the coolest thing. But again, it's a local. They're actually collecting funds for a first responders memorial out in front of this facility. It was a cool event. It was a very nerdy event, and I hope they do more of them in the future because it was a lot of fun, and it was a great opportunity to learn about some cool local history. Oh, I wanted to give you guys just a quick update. Project Beetle for this year. You know, I've been trying to get stag beetle eggs, and it was another bust. But I think I learned something big this year. I realized by creating this little ecosystem in a box, I set it up for failure because besides the beetles, there were lots of things in that box that probably eat beetle eggs. I kept checking, and the females, the stag beetles have now all gone on to the big beetle, like they crossed the rainbow beetle bridge or the beetle rainbow bridge. They're not here anymore. But the millipedes, the centipedes, there was still a lot of life in there. A few weeks ago, I shared some photos of the millipedes at Johnson's Mound, our native, the Narcissus americanus, the American millipede, the bright yellow cyanide millipedes. Those are both native species. This is introduced species. This is what we tend to see around our houses. This is what we oftentimes accidentally introduce when we bring things home from greenhouses. It's actually, common name is actually the greenhouse millipede. It's worldwide. It's a European species, but it's been introduced just about everywhere. Sometimes when they attain great numbers in greenhouses, they can do some damage to plants. I like though the way this millipede is segmented. You can clearly see each body segment has 2 pairs of legs. That's how you can tell a millipede from a centipede. Centipedes also, those are predators. Their first pair of legs is modified into fangs for feeding, and they inject venom. But the millipedes are more on the decomposing end of things. They crawl around and graze, and there were plenty of them in the little beetlearium I tried to set up. I did find some tiny little white eggs. I kind of think they're millipede eggs, and I have them set aside. And I'll see if those do develop into something. I will be sure and bring you that. There was some reproduction going on too. There's this, I couldn't figure out a way to put my lip balm in this picture without actually crushing this little guy. Whoops. But this was a very, very small daddy long legs. Right here, that body was probably a millimeter, maybe a little bit more than that. It was hard for me to focus because it was so small. There were 2 of them in there. So I'm thinking that in the almost 2 months that was set up, that these guys hatched and started to grow, and were probably feeding on things and maybe ate some beetle eggs. I don't know. But that was kind of a neat thing. I did release everything back in the while. I broke down the setup, and I'll try again next year. Now this let's see, is it going to run this week? I had written recently about spiders ballooning. You may have found yourself walking into strands of silk recently. It's that time of year when spiders are dispersing, when a female spider makes her eggs. She lays her eggs, she wraps them up in silk in a little sack, and airplane. When those spiders hatch, these little spiderlings come out, they have to disperse quickly because the stronger ones will eat the weaker ones, the bigger ones will eat the smaller ones. They really need to scatter. And they do so oftentimes by letting, even at this very small size, which here I'll zoom in. What we're looking at right there is what landed on my computer screen as I was working the other day. Don't know the species. I'm gonna guess maybe one of the house spiders. I've got a lot of those in the office, but so they let silk go from their spinnerets, and a combination of air currents, but there's some days when there is no air current, and indoors too, there's no air current. They also make use of electrostatic forces, and they're so tiny, they're so light that they get carried away in this phenomenon that's called ballooning. I just thought it was kind of funny. I'd just written about ballooning, and I had a ballooning spider land on my computer screen. Maybe you'll be that lucky too, huh? Now, Laura, you had sent this picture, and the question is this a black-crowned night heron? This is
Oh, it's such a bad.
well, let's see if we can zoom in. I wasn't having any luck on my phone. Where's my, how can I make this zoom? Doesn't want to zoom. Well, okay, right in the middle. There is a bird. And is this, Laura, is this the gravel bars here in St. Charles?
Yeah, it's right between Mount St. Mary's and the Beeth House, right?
And
Yeah.
that's right, you told me that. Yeah, why can't I get this?
Yeah, it's a very blurry picture, sorry.
Well, and I was thinking that if I put it on the screen here, that we would be able to zoom in. Maybe if I crop it. Yeah, let's try doing that. It looks a little tall, but what did you see? Did you see?
Well, the problem is I didn't have any binoculars and I can't see that well.
Right there with you.
Yeah. But it stayed there for a while and I thought I could see the black on the top, but now looking at it in the picture, I can't see it right now, but I didn't know what it was, Usually I see great blue herons out there a lot and egrets, but it was just sitting there and I guess I could have waded out to it. But yeah, and my brother Tom then had said later, I saw him a couple days later, and he said that he's up by Crystal Lake, but
he's a birder.
He's a birder, yeah. That there's been some black-crowned night herons, right along the Fox River. A lot of reports of them, and I know I had gone and seen those two that were up by that church a couple of years ago, that you had talked about.
Well, and it's funny because they are still, I can't remember if they're threatened or endangered, but I want to say they're still considered an state endangered species. But I always see black-crowned night herons when I'm in Batavia.
Oh.
And this would be kind of a different area. What time of day was this, Laura?
Oh, geez. Actually, early afternoon, I think.
Okay. Well, and yeah, night heron, they do come out in the daytime. They're not, strictly nocturnal. I will say I have seen great blues around here, but if this looked short,
it was it wasn't a great blue at all.
Okay.
Unless it was hunkered down somehow. But no, it wasn't a great blue, and the shape wasn't correct. I wish I could see better, and I wish my phone took better pictures. But that's the closest I could come to guessing,
Yeah, I would say, if you notice the difference like that,
Yeah, and I go by there frequently.
uh,
I go to the Arcadium a lot, but and walk around.
coffee.
Yeah, coffee. Yeah, and I've never seen anything like it there.
Okay.
And what attracted me was usually I'm like, oh, that must be the great blue heron. And then I got up closer and I'm like, wait, that's not even close, so.
Okay. Well, yeah, I would say that there's because they even though they're listed, well, in fact, I just and I don't see a date on this IDNR site, but it's um it's considered native to Illinois, but it's also state endangered. It says the black crowned night heron was a common Illinois summer resident bird in the late 1800s and could be seen in wetlands throughout the state. But habitat destruction, human harassment, and indiscriminate killing led to a dramatic decline in the numbers of the species. Protection and preservation of nest and feeding sites are vital to its survival in Illinois. So yeah, I kind of wonder if maybe they found refuge at Fermilab and then kind of have been, at least in this area, expanding from there.
Okay.
Because, when I worked down at Red Oak, I would see them all the time below the dam, as well as up, there's that area above the Batavia Dam where that Park District building, I know it is the boathouse, I think it has a different name now, but on the east bank of the Fox River. So yeah, I would say it's not impossible. And if
Okay.
it's different from a great blue.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, yeah, let's go with that. Sometimes yellow crowned night herons are spotted in Chicago. I've heard of them being around Lincoln Park, the lagoon there, but the black crown.
There's a big rookery at the zoo.
Ah. Well, that would explain it.
I see him all the time on my walks with the dog.
Okay. Boy, you guys sound alike.
I know it's we look more alike too. It's bizarre. We're like twins separated by 3 years.
Maybe it was delayed implantation.
Oh my God. Mom was special.
Oh boy.
Laura.
Well, stick around, Jerry, because I've got your videos I wanted to share too. Let me get out of this editing phase here. How do I get rid of this? Just a couple more of your photos, Laura. You sent this awesome spider web for, and I was just saying last week how there's different species you can identify by the web. And then I looked at this one and I don't know. It's not an orb weaver. It's the first thing that came to mind was a sheet web spider, but most of those, the sheet webs they're small, and this thing looks massive. Was this like a couple of feet?
Yeah, it was. I was at the Arboretum and I saw it and the light was shining in it. Yeah, it was huge. And it was a little bit off the path and I really didn't want to go too far off, although I usually do, but I didn't. But I really couldn't find, the spider. I really wanted to see where it was, but yeah, it was big.
Now, there wasn't any funnel in any area, was there?
I couldn't see. I probably could have gone off trail a little bit more, but I did none that I could see. It struck me that, I think of the orb weavers,
Mm-hmm.
but, this was all like, kind of slanted horizontally, but all almost the same direction.
Yeah.
I thought it looked so cool and different from what I'm used to seeing.
Well, and so the reason I was thinking maybe a funnel web, and that would be probably one of our grass spiders that made it, but again, I don't see the funnel. But what I learned with and by the way, the grass spiders and their little funnels are everywhere right now. I always thought that those webs became more prominent in August because we tend to have less rain and the rain isn't knocking them down. But what I learned, because some of you might remember dining room spider that I had for several months in the dining room in an aquarium. What I saw happen in there was these webs start fairly small, but then the spider just keeps laying down more and more silk. And so over time, it gets bigger and thicker and more prominent. And so I was thinking maybe that's what happened here, was that it's been there for a while, nothing's crashed into it and knocked it down. But yeah, I don't know. That's just a guess. And if I do figure out something on it, I'll definitely let you guys know. But it was an impressive find.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful.
And then you found some fungus. Not sure what kind this is, other than it looks like some kind of bracket fungus. And I want to say this is one that's maybe not so good for the tree. Like maybe there's some impending death there, or there is some death that's occurred.
Yeah, it was pretty big. It was impressive.
Yeah. Now, and then so then these was this. No, this is a totally different tree. This one I'm pretty sure is chicken of the woods.
I was wondering, and there was somebody coming, there was a group of 3 people who were coming the other way, and they were wondering the same thing. And then they thought, because it's pretty orange, and I didn't realize that chicken of the woods could be that orange. But then when I looked it up in my mushroom book, it said chicken,
Yeah.
Chicken fungi or something like that. And I'm like, maybe that is chicken of the woods. I didn't know they could be that orange. It was really pretty.
Yeah, so this is one I've always wanted to try. It is edible. I've always wanted to try it. Ryan, who's our restoration ecologist, he actually prefers this to hen of the woods, which is the brown. We should probably be seeing that one pretty soon too. Hen of the woods looks like the ruffled feathers underneath the tail of a big barnyard hen. He prefers chicken of the woods. He says the texture is very much like chicken breast. And the hen of the woods, it's more like shredded chicken. It doesn't have the same consistency to it, but very cool finds and a good tip off that. And then with the rain that we've had now too, that should help as well.
Yeah, I was walking by myself, but it had rained, I think the day before.
Okay.
But it's a short, it's a woodlands walk that in the park there, or in the Arboretum. And it was
at the Arb.
Yeah, at the Arboretum. It was that's why I was a little bit more nervous about stepping off trail and stuff like that. People might actually see me, so.
Aha!
I don't know the rules out there, but
you feel a little more closely monitored though, don't you? It's not the same as
definitely.
One of our local parks.
Right.
We're all I'm gonna say about that. I think that brings us, this is a little teaser for next week. I wasn't able to get the video to where I felt I could share it yet, but this is a spider that will be playing a role in our next gathering. This is an orb weaver that this is, by the way, when you see those big orb webs, now we do have the Argiope, the black and yellow garden spiders. Those are diurnal hunters, and they hang out in the center of their web all day long. But a lot of the orb weavers we have in this area are actually nocturnal hunters, and they hang out in the center of their web at night. And this is where they go during the day. So this web, I would say it's over 2 feet across, and it's between the post of, I have a raised deck that I'm sitting on right now behind my house. That this is between the web goes between a deck post and I think some goldenrod that I have growing down there. And it's a big web, but during the day, the little miss that made it, she hangs out up in this corner here when I took this picture, I thought that looked kind of weird. I think she might have dragged a snack up there. I think she might be feeding on something there. Not positive, but like her body is here, and then there's this shiny thing there. So I'm thinking that she was eating something that she'd caught the night before. So with that, I'm going to stop the screen share. There we go, and let's get to some chats here before we go. Jerry, I'd want to share your videos too, but let's just see. Oh, still seeing the bat, not the ragweed. Okay, so we're good. The yeah, juvenile the black crowned night herons are brown and streaked. And yes, that was something else that I was surprised when I used to see the black crowned night herons down in Batavia. I was surprised to learn at that time that they were endangered because they were reproducing. I would usually see 2 juveniles along with the 2 parents. And they would be on the east bank of the river, but below the Batavia Dam. But that again, this was years ago, but the status doesn't seem to have changed. I kind of wonder if maybe, and I don't know the criteria, but that the Endangered Species Board uses, but I kind of wonder if the black crowned night heron is a similar sort of situation as what we're seeing with the ospreys, where it's really just a matter of getting more reports in. There is that form that you can fill out on the IDNR website. If you just look up Illinois Endangered Species Reporting Form, if you put that in your search engine, it'll pop up. It might just be that there's not enough boots on the ground for the IDNR and the Natural History Survey people to be reporting to be seeing all these different representatives of these 2 species. But anyway, yeah, they are definitely along the Fox River. Want to finish up here, Jerry. I've got your videos. I'm going to try and not mess up the screen share. I thought I had them queued up, but I'm not seeing it. So I'm going to talk a little bit longer while I pull it up. Jerry had a visitor since we were talking about spiders. Jerry, what night was this, or what day was this where your spider?
It was Saturday, so I was camped out in the backyard because my black swallowtail was emerging.
That's right.
And it was crazy because I had 2 grasshoppers. One was eating my vines, and then 2 different species of katydids, and then this. I'm like, oh my gosh, you just have to sit still for a little bit and bugs will come to you.
All right, well, I'm gonna, let's see, now I'm gonna minimize this, and now I'm gonna do, let me see, screen share. Hold on, try one more time, screen share videos. All right. Tell me, are you guys seeing the Jerry Aston spider wasp?
I think it's coming up.
Yep.
Well, it's kind of just a black screen though.
Uh-oh.
I saw the file, but when you clicked on it, nothing. It's just a black screen.
Oh, all right, so what am I doing wrong? All right, let me try it again. Screen sharing is paused. I'm gonna stop. I'll try it one more time. All right, share. And videos. How about now?
There we go.
All right, so this was where you first saw it, and I'm just going to back it up and pause it here. So it's a spider and a wasp. So this is an example. So we have a whole family of, they're called spider wasps. Now, these are a little different from the mud daubers. Mud daubers have that long threaded waist. They make those nests out of mud. That's the name mud dauber. There's the organ pipe mud dauber. There's a few different kinds in the area, but these are wasps that sting spiders. The venom in the sting paralyzes, but does not kill the spider. And then the wasp will haul the spider off to, in the case of the spider wasp, it's a burrow in the ground. And they then lay their eggs on that, and that's what the larvae feed on. There's a few different species in Illinois. Let me see if I can switch over now. I'm going to have to stop the share and pull the other one up. Jerry, you had another picture.
Yeah, when it's climbing up my pants.
Yeah. Up close and personal.
That was something. I had no idea there was even such a thing as a spider wasp. That is so cool. But now I'm sad because when it climbed up my legs, it was getting closer and closer to places I didn't want it to be. And so when I shoot it, it dropped the spider. So I ruined everything for the wasp.
Now, are you seeing the?
It's doing just the black screen thing again.
All right, I don't know why it doesn't. Let me try it one more time. Stop the share, start the share. And then pick videos and wasp. Please. Any luck?
No.
No. Well, boy, I can see it really well.
Yeah, it was more in focus when it was on me.
It says move this window away. I'll give it one more time, but yeah, so spider wasps are a thing, and there's several different species. They're in the family. Let's see, it's called the Pompilidae, 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 and they're long-legged, elongate but not slender, dark blue to black transparent wings. Some have markings. They range in size from 1 to almost 2 inches. Adults feed on flower nectar, but then they sting and paralyze the spiders that they feed to their youngsters.
So you'd never be able to see the spider being eaten by the youngsters. It would be underground.
Right.
Okay.
So just like, like the cicada killer, the cicada killer stings cicadas, pulls them into a burrow, and then the wasp larvae feed on the cicada. Same with these spider wasps. They use spiders. I always liken it to, when you see these spiders and they're wrestling with a cicada or a katydid or a big spider like that. These wasps, they look like they're trying to move a piano all by themselves. It's really, really. Jerry, I'm sorry, I can't quite seem to get this video to play.
Oh, that's okay. I thought you'd get a kick out of it. So
yeah, well, I sure did. I'd like you guys. Let's see. Hold on. How about now?
No.
Oh! All right.
Stupid Zoom.
It's a 4 megabyte file. So anybody who's watching the black screen and would like to see this really cool video, just shoot me an email afterwards and I will gladly send it on to you. I'm going to stop the screen share now. Got a couple more chats. Kate went to bed. Yeah, yes, there is a Chimney Swift Citizen Science Count-a-thon. Yes, it is happening. This is the weekend where I believe you go out and you find a roost and you count and you report what you're seeing at your roost back to Marion Miller. She has the Facebook page, Chimneys Over the Fox Valley and Beyond. And then the what they call the Swift Night Out, that'll be coming up, I think the weekend after, but it's this weekend that people head out and count swifts on their own. Let me see if I can pull up more details on that. So yes, this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, Swift Night Out. Where to count is your choice, or if you'd like to be assigned a site, you can contact Rich and Marion Miller. Contact me though, and I will email you the stuff. I'd rather not, since we're recording this, rather not give out all that info, but count at the same or at different spots over those 3 nights. Begin counting 20 minutes before sunset and continue until the final swift has entered your chimney. Report your success or lack of birds to Marion and Rich. And then the next event will be the Chimney Swift Sit. And that is, the location for that is going to be made based on the results of this, the count that occurs this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So hopefully that answers your question. Yes, there is a Chimney Swift Tower at Cantini. There is a Chimney Swift Tower at Brunner Family Forest Preserve up in is that Dundee. There's also the Chimney Swift Tower down in downtown Batavia that they put up when they tore the bowling alley down. Those, I'm not sure if the Cantini Tower has had a nest in it, but I know Brunner has, and I'm pretty sure the Batavia Tower has as well. But yeah, so the it is happening, Greg and Kelly, and if you want info on how to contact Marion, I'd be glad to send that to you. With that, it's after 9. I will turn it over to you guys. Does anybody else have anything else they'd care to share? If not, up here on the light, I just noticed a click beetle flew in. Oh, I wish you could see that. It just clicked. So click beetles, they're those beetles that flip over. You put them on their backs and then they flip over. I'm gonna see if I can hold it up for you here. Oh, it's clicking all over my hand. You ready? I flew away. It's in the lamp again. Click beetles happening now. Check your outside lights. Super cool. And yet another really cool part of our amazingly good nature. I'm going to cut it off for tonight, folks. It's past our bedtimes. It was so good to see you, and I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday night.
Thank you, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, Pam. You made my day.
Take
Have
care,
a good night.
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.
everybody.
Thanks, Pam.